Hi, this is Aaron Nichols. I am the Access and Media Services Librarian at the Bailey Howe Library at the University of Vermont. And the title of my project is Big Projects Equal Big Change, Changing Workplace Culture Through Expectations and Outreach. So this presentation will outline a major cultural shift we made with our student workforce. And as you'll see in the presentation, there are two major pillars of change that I've got here. The first one being expectations, and the second one being outreach. I'm going to start off by giving you some background on our library and the two service points I oversee, media services and circulation. I'll then explain our efforts in setting the new higher expectations for our student help, and after that I'll talk about how we are involving our student help in outreach projects in order to boost their enthusiasm for work, and I'll give you some examples of the outreach projects. So first off, I'll go over the Bailey Howe Library. As you can see here in this slide, the Bailey Howe Library is an extremely busy place for students to study, do research, borrow materials. And you could see here on the upper right-hand corner that students are just flocking to Bailey Howe. On the upper left-hand side is our main circulation desk, and down below is our open study area. So, like I said, I oversee two very busy service points. The library sees up to 8,000 visitors a day on a busy day. So that's 8,000 visitors, which is pretty impressive, especially for a university this size. The media department has 3 staff members, 3 full-time staff members, and 10 student assistants. And the circulation has 8 staff members and 30 student assistants. So we do depend heavily on our student help in both the circulation and media departments. Media also has students run the media desk at nights and on the weekends without any staff supervision. And in this case, it's with minimal staff supervision. There is no media department staff member there at the service point to help the students out at nights or on weekends. So our expectations for them do have to be very high. The circulation staff supervisors at night especially frequently have to leave the desk to do building rounds, to address security issues, and to assist users with a variety of issues. So the student assistants in the circulation area are essential for keeping that desk running and allow our staff members to do the jobs that they were hired to do. So we face 3 distinct problems that brought about this change. The first big problem was budget cuts, and as we know, budget and money is pretty much the key to everything when it comes to making a service point run. It was brought up this summer that there would be there's a projected budget shortfall, which has come to fruition. The business manager at the library put on some pressure, telling us that we should consider very strongly cutting student worker hours in order to help meet this budget shortfall. So the media department was able to cut 20 student work hours per week, while circulation had been making reductions in student hours continually over the past few years. At the same time, service demands have increased each year with 8,000 plus visitors on a busy day. It really has put a lot of demands beyond just circulating videos and books and the other things that we circulate. There's a lot of customer service issues that come up that really need to be dealt with. So in other words, we need to do more work with fewer students. That's in essence what this problem comes down to. The second problem directly relates. When I came here at the end of February, the first thing I noticed is that we at UVM, especially at the Bailey Howe Library, have a very relaxed work culture. There was a very high tolerance for students showing up late, for not showing up, for leaving early, leaving their shirts early. They could basically come and go as they please. Things like schoolwork, group projects, recreational plans, these were all seen as valid reasons for calling in on a shift or for leaving early or for arriving late. Students were allowed to play video games. They could break out their electronic devices like laptops, play on their smartphones, text each other. They could socialize with friends at the desks, at the service points while working. And worst of all, there were a number of students who were just not dependable at all. And that really is because expectations weren't set. Part of this came about because we hired students very liberally. So students were often hired for double coverage in case one student didn't show up for one reason or another. There was another there to back them up. And we couldn't really afford to do that anymore. On top of that, we had a very anemic student code of conduct. Problem behaviors were not clearly defined, and there were no clearly defined consequences for any inappropriate conduct. So managers didn't really have a functional tool to rely on to manage students. It was sort of chaotic. A good example of why this was a problem, the media department would have 2 students scheduled for their weekend shifts. They had 2 students working at a time for the weekend shifts. And I found out, because I came in on a weekend one day to do some work, that one student was frequently just not showing up and not notifying the supervisor, and the other student would cover for him. So this illustrates the problem that expectations were not there. Problem number 3, the perception from above. Big Brother is watching you. And indeed he is. Staff and administrators saw students as a waste of money. I'd often hear the question, why do you need 2 students to staff the desk? Can't you just get by with one? I'd hear, well, they don't seem to be doing much at the desk. I'd also hear, I see them playing video games. I see them on Facebook. What are they doing? We could easily cut them out of the picture. And while this perception does have some merit, it's not 100% true that we could just cut them all out. Media services did have some unnecessary double coverage at certain points of the day. This sort of just-in-case coverage, in case one student didn't show up, we had another there. This was a pretty big waste of money and something we put an end to. Another point that didn't help our public relations with administrators was a LibQual survey that went out. And LibQual is a qualitative survey device that indicates user satisfaction with the library. And some of our users did say that the student help was not very helpful in some cases, so that didn't help matters. And on top of that, another big part of the equation is that the work that the students did do beyond checking items out and helping people with the questions they have is that a lot of the work that they do is not highly visible, or it's not thought of very highly. Stuff like shelving, organizing files, stamping periodicals, labeling videos, and a whole list of other more mundane, less glamorous jobs that do need to be done. So all of this really called for a major change, and I knew right off the bat that we needed a major cultural change in our student workforce. And to do this would require a major cultural change with our staff, because our staff are the folks who deal with the student help and manage them right there at the service points. So I adopted the ADKAR model, which is actually a very good model for change. It goes over 5 steps, bringing about awareness, desire, knowledge, ability, and reinforcement in order to plan for and implement and maintain change. I made sure to include staff every step of the way through this process. And I think it's something that you really can't avoid if you want to make meaningful change. I think it's really important to give staff some say in how that change is going to be brought about. So for the first piece of the ADKAR puzzle, building awareness, I discussed the 3 problems that I just went over with the staff in charge of managing student help in both circulation and media services. I explained how these problems are negatively affecting service, our quality of work life, and how we look to upper management. And on top of that, we're not going to be able to hire as many students to cover for each other as in the past. So this brings about step number 2, desire. The desire for change came about because we could no longer afford the extra coverage in case a student decided to skip work. That staff managers would have to pick up the slack when a student is late or doesn't show up for a shift because we won't have the extra bodies hired. We agreed that we desired a student workforce that's consistently reliable and motivated, and that this would give our staff confidence that students will show up for their shifts when needed and that they can handle running a service point while our staff is away or busy with other work. The third piece of the puzzle in the ADKAR system is knowledge. I contacted several academic libraries and compared their student worker manuals or codes of conduct with ours. And the comparison, as I said before, our student code was anemic, and it didn't give staff the tools to effectively and consistently manage student help. This would be consistencies across between managers, and it really helped knowing that our peer institutions have already implemented a more strict code of conduct successfully. So this wasn't groundbreaking stuff that we were doing. It wasn't brand new. The fourth piece of the puzzle is ability. And all the staff in charge of managing the student help already had the ability, the skills to manage student help, but some lacked the confidence. And there were some concerns about consistency. Nobody really wanted to be, quote unquote, the bad guy if other managers might allow student help to get away with breaking the rules. So we worked out a strategy for communication and accountability that ensures, for the most part, that all staff in charge of managing student help is consistently enforcing the student code of conduct. And the fifth and final piece of the puzzle is probably the most important. That's reinforcement. And that comes with the student code of conduct that we were planning on authoring by my staff members. We also have pretty strong collaboration between the circulation, and actually I should say very strong collaboration between the media and circulation departments. The staff get together frequently to talk about issues involving student help with management, so that they're on the same page with everything, so that students are managed consistently between service desks. So that was really, I think, key in helping to get folks on board with a change following this ADKAR model. But of course, there's going to be some fear of change, and I heard a lot of this when we were talking about it and sort of planning the student code, and when I presented my research to my staff. I hear, well, I don't want to be the bad guy. I also heard, well, what if we scare the students off? What if they take a look at the student code of conduct and decide they don't want to work here anymore, and then we'll have nobody to work for us? And others thought it would be awkward subtly enforcing rules that were never enforced before. I assured my staff that I'd stand behind them when it comes to enforcing the code of conduct, that as managers they can look at me as somebody who will certainly stand behind them when it comes to enforcing our new rules. And I also assured them that, hey, other universities and workplaces run much better with a clear set of guidelines and with a set of rules that are actually enforced. So this helped a bit with the fear of change. But I think what really helped was giving my staff ownership of this new student code of conduct. I wanted to give staff, initially, I wanted to give them some guidance. I gave them an idea of what I was looking for. I presented my research to them, including several examples from peer institutions. And I put together a team of 3 staff members to author a new code of conduct from scratch. There was a lot of debate. Actually, every one of the members had a reservation in one way or another about some of some of the guidelines I wanted to have set up. But at the end of the day, they drafted a phenomenal document that addressed all the problems that I brought up in a clear and meaningful way. And I've got to say, I couldn't be more proud of what they did. I think for them, it was a long and painful process. Like I said, there was a lot of debate involved, but they really put out, in my mind, what is just an absolutely stellar piece of work. And that is our Student Code of Conduct, which you see right here. There's the cover page for it. So the Student Code of Conduct really sets expectations for how students will behave when they come to work. These are very clear expectations with clearly defined consequences for misconduct. If a student shows up late, they get documented. If they pull a no-call, no-show, they get fired. It's all written there in the Student Code of Conduct. And students, upon hire, go over this with the hiring manager, and they're asked to read it again to follow any sort of protocol or procedures. We no longer accept group projects or schoolwork or social activities as a reason to call in for work. A student needs to be sick. So we had this new Student Code of Conduct approved by our Human Resources Liaison, who's our business manager at the library. Once he approved it, we actually gave the Student Code of Conduct to a few of our library assistants who've been longtime employees, just to sort of test fly it, just to see what they'd think of it. So we had them review it and ask for their feedback. And folks were shocked. My staff was shocked to see that the students had no problems with the new rules, and some even thought it was a positive development. And I think this comes about because most of the students that we hired were excellent students. They were great employees, but there were just a few bad apples that were allowed to get away with not showing up to work and showing up late. I think that really, that is a morale kill. So I think for those students who were good employees to see that we're not going to tolerate this anymore, that's a positive thing. So to pull this all off, my staff, the document authors, presented this new Student Code of Conduct to our current students in a series of meetings that took place at the very beginning of the semester. We bought pizza and soda and other junk food to sort of break the ice and present this new Student Code of Conduct to them. And all of the students seemed to accept it, and they seemed to accept the change very well. We did have to enforce a lot of the smaller infractions right off the bat, stuff like student assistants pulling out a laptop or a cell phone or playing video games. We had to, our staff had to come in and tell them, hey, you can't do this anymore. This is part of the new Student Code of Conduct. But after the first month, the need for enforcing these smaller infractions has subsided. So we sort of had a month of having to really play enforcer when it comes to these smaller infractions, and now it's just a part of the way students work, and I think it's worked out very, very well so far. So I'm going to get into the next sort of phase or pillar of this project, and that's empowering students through outreach. And in my kind of convoluted diagram here, I've got this dove, which represents freedom. Giving students freedom leads to innovation, which leads to energy, my atomic symbol, which then leads to, I think, a more happy and productive student workforce. So why involve students in the outreach program? Well, I think it's good management. Giving students projects where they can make decisions and get to display their work to the public, I think is really positive. It's a boost to their morale, and it gives them a sense of contributing in a meaningful way. They own the projects, and they do more than just show up to work and check out books. They actually get to show off projects that they get to put their names on. My hope was that this sense of ownership would positively impact their approach to work. so that not only would they be creating these outreach projects that play to their interests, but also it would increase their enthusiasm for coming to work and sitting at the desk and doing the things that we hired them for in the first place. We started off this outreach experiment with the media department, mainly because it's smaller. We've only got 3 staff members and 10 student employees, so it was easier to organize and sort of get this off the ground. We got a lot of very good ideas from our students and staff, and really who better than students to reach out to other students. So let's take a look and see what they've been working on. The first outreach project, which is an ongoing project, is our themed slideshows. We began these at the end of the spring of 2011 semester, right when we started talking about the Code of Conduct. I thought it'd be a good idea to get these outreach projects started to sort of not only get students on board but to get staff on board to say, hey, look at what our students are capable of. So student workers and the staff collaborate on themes. Students choose the films and create the slides, and there's a great deal of artistic liberties that we give to our students. As you can see here, this is sort of a fuzzy picture of our media department service desk. We've got a 52-inch flat screen monitor that's mounted over the media circulation desk. That shows these slideshows so that users can come in. If they're thinking of a movie, maybe something on the slideshow will catch their interest. And we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from both faculty and other students on the quality of these slideshows and the interest level that it's brought up. We also post these slideshows on slideshare.net, which is a social networking site. And that makes it easy for us to post the slideshows on our Facebook site as well. Some of the themes that we've come up with include American musicals, horror movies, sports documentaries, food and film studies faculty picks. And in fact, our film studies faculty picks theme saw over 700 views from SlideShare. That's right, 700 views. And that, I believe, was put up at the end of the summer. So that's quite a few. And we typically do see many of our slideshow viewings in the triple digits. So there is enthusiasm for this within the University of Vermont community and beyond. So this is, I think, a very easy way to get students involved in outreach and to give them a chance to be creative while they sit at the circulation desk, at the media circulation desk. The second outreach project that we came up with this past semester is film recommendations. Now I've got this guy typing here. He's thinking about Darth Vader. These student-authored film recommendations are posted on our library homepage, so that if you come to the library homepage, you'll see an image as well as a little excerpt of who wrote the recommendation and what it's about. It's very, very cool, very interesting. The student typically writes a relatively short recommendation. It includes a picture or two and a clip from YouTube when available. And the students are asked to add a personal touch. We started off our guidelines by asking the student, what about this particular film touches you in one way or another? So we try to encourage students to make these film recommendations personal, so that our readers, people who read these film recommendations, feel like they're getting a real life personal recommendation from another student. It also helps to showcase our collection. The students' work gets posted out on our site for the whole world to see and for our administrators to see. So that's really nice. So results. All in all, the results have been very good. As a result of the new Student Code of Conduct, I've noticed that, and staff have told me, that they confront problem students much faster than they did in the past. they have the tools in place to deal with the issues, and they've got me backing them 100% of the way. We did actually have to fire a couple of students, one in circulation and one in media, for not showing up to work, and that's something that would have been tolerated in the past, but we did it very quickly this time around, because it's just something that we can't tolerate anymore. Overall, we've noticed a large improvement in student morale and enthusiasm for work, and I think this is in part a result of the outreach projects that students are working on, or I think that's probably a big part of it. And staff and students have developed a stronger bond through the outreach projects. They have more to talk about than just some of the more boring duties that they do. It's something that's more creative and that follows the interests of both staff and students. And I talked to my boss about these projects that we've got students working on, and he couldn't be more happy. So the results have been very positive. So what's next? Well, we are looking at expanding our outreach program to the circulation students. And in fact, my circulation manager approached me and said, "Hey, my students up in circulation are very interested in following what media has been doing with the outreach projects." So we're getting folks together, our student help together, and we're actually in the process right now of forming an official student outreach committee. So that'll consist of 4 students in total, 2 from circulation and 2 from media, and they'll meet twice a month to develop, plan, and implement outreach projects. And these outreach projects won't just involve the committee members, but they'll involve all the students, any student who works for either department. The outreach committee will act as sort of a group that will take ideas and help to delegate work and make some of the ideas that come from our other students happen. We're also looking at giving our student help in both circulation and media access to our library social networking tools like Facebook and Twitter, so that they can contribute, make contributions to those social networking tools that we have. And we also hope to give our students even more creative freedom than we have in the past, and we hope to see some really good stuff from that. So in conclusion, I'd say this whole project was sort of like climbing a mountain. It was not an easy task, but the work was certainly worth the reward. And I have to give a lot of credit to my staff for making these changes happen. Though there was some initial reluctance in the beginning, in the summer, they really stepped up and took charge by authoring and implementing the new Student Code of Conduct and by mentoring our students with our new outreach activities. So while we have accomplished a lot, there's still a lot of work to do. But I've got to say, we are really enjoying the view right now.